Good afternoon, everyone. It's Erin Black here, reporting live on the Devon Live and Cornwall Live Facebook pages this afternoon. You join me outside Plymouth Crown Court, which you will see in just a moment. I'm joined by our court reporter, Stuart Abel, who will be bringing you an update on this case. But I will just be here in the meantime to make sure that the stream is active and working and that you are able to see and hear everything so that we can bring you updates from this case, which has happened this morning. I'm aware that we are approaching 100 viewers now, so we will just hold on for a moment until a few more of you have joined the stream, and then I will be passing over to my colleague Stuart Abel, who is the court reporter for Plymouth Live and has been sat inside Plymouth Crown Court this morning listening to the plea hearing which has been taking place. As I'm sure many of you will know from the title of this Facebook Live and from various news stories that have been published over recent months following this tragic event which happened back in November of 2021, that Cody Ackland, a 24-year-old from Plymouth, was accused of murdering 18-year-old Bobbi-Anne McLeod from Liam, which is also an area in Plymouth. He came to Plymouth Crown Court today to make a plea of either guilty or not guilty, and I can confirm that he pled guilty early on this morning. What I'm going to do now that we have a sufficient number of you tuned in and letting me know that the Facebook Live is working is just turn the camera around to my colleague Stuart Abel, who will explain what happened this morning and what has happened throughout the case so far. Just give me one moment to turn the camera for you here. Okay, Stuart, if we can just get you in front of the Crown Court building, which is where all the action took place this morning, just give a recap for our viewers of what the events have been leading up to this and what has happened this morning.
Well, Cody Ackland, aged 24, was arrested 3 or 4 days after Bobbi-Anne's sudden disappearance from a bus stop near her home in Liam. The 24-year-old musician from Southway appeared first before magistrates a few days after that, on the 26th of November, and he's been remanded into custody ever since, charged with the murder of the 18-year-old between November the 19th and November the 23rd, when her body was discovered at Bobbi-Anne. Through various hearings, he was not asked to enter a plea. In January, the stage when that stage would have been expected, the case was adjourned until today. A trial was penciled in for early next month in May. But today, before members of the press and, more importantly, his own family members and family and friends of Bobbi-Anne, he pleaded guilty to the single charge of murder. He was remanded back into custody until May the 19th, when a half-day hearing will hear for the first time the full details of the case and the last terrible, tragic moments of Bobbi-Anne's life before she was murdered. He faces an automatic life sentence for the offence of murder, which means he will serve a minimum tariff to be set by the judge before he is even considered for release, and he will spend the rest of his life on licence, so being monitored by police and probation as appropriate. We just don't know enough at this stage. There were few details, in fact no details of the circumstances of Bobbi-Anne's death were revealed, except to say that the prosecution counsel, Richard Posner, said that there had been a charge of kidnapping, which suggests that, as makes sense, sadly, Ackland abducted the petite teenager from that bus stop that night. That charge will no longer be proceeded with. Our understanding is that it's basically caught up in the murder charge. So it's part of the facts of the overarching murder, which will attract the life sentence. We just don't know enough, but my feeling is that he will serve at a minimum of 20 years and possibly more than that for what looks like a terrible crime, particularly galling murder. He had relied on a psychiatric report at a previous hearing in January, which is why he was not asked to enter a plea. That could have given him a defence under the law of diminished responsibility due to his mental health. It wasn't outlined today, but it seems that psychiatric report has fallen short of a strict legal standard that gives you a case, defence, or diminished responsibility. He had admitted the act in January, and the family had some solace in hearing that he admitted killing Bobbi-Anne. But there was this possibility that the case would have been put off for trial as he admitted manslaughter, and a jury would have been asked to find whether he committed murder or not. Thankfully, for the family's sake, that hasn't come to pass, and as I say, he's remanded in custody until May the 19th for a prison sentence of life.
What was the atmosphere like in the courtroom?
It was tense but quiet. The Judge Linford, as previously, asked for the hearing to be conducted in silence. The public gallery in Court 4, which was used as a watching hearing room where people looked on over a video link, they couldn't see the whole room. The public gallery was full there, we think, with Bobbi-Anne supporters. Some were wearing T-shirts with her face upon them. There was a tiny gasp when he said guilty, but it was calm, and Judge Linford thanked the families and supporters of both sides for maintaining their dignity under very trying circumstances. What was only a 10 to 15 minute hearing. We think Cody Ackland's family were admitted to Court 3, where he was, to see this moment at the last minute. But the case was conducted very smoothly, without interruption.
And just going through where it started to where we are now, just in terms of recapping the case for audience members that might be familiar.
Yes, this case has sent waves of shock and sadness through the city ever since she disappeared on what was a Saturday night, and the family, in fact, contacted us on the following day, late on the Sunday. It always seemed that she had disappeared, sadly, into thin air until the arrest and the discovery of the body. There were searches in the streets, tributes were laid at the bus stop in Liam, a suburban part of Plymouth, where she'd vanished. And 6-7 days after she disappeared, Cody Ackland was in court for the first time. It's prompted a huge wave of sadness across the city that this petite 18-year-old girl with a life ahead of her has just lost her, been murdered. But also there's been some determination, together with other cases such as the Sarah Everard murder in London, to try and tackle this problem, to find ways of reducing, combating violence against women, especially on the streets. What we should say is that it appears that the murderer and victim were not known to each other.
Somebody's asking about the motive and the reason, but we won't know that until May.
We won't know that, and it's hard for us to speculate. As I say, and it doesn't provide an excuse. It doesn't provide an defence to murder, but it does appear that Ackland may have been under some sort of psychiatric pressure at the time. We just don't know what reason, and we wouldn't want to speculate at this stage. That will become clear on the 19th of May.
And just can you remind us about the sentencing process?
Yes, he's been remanded in custody until that date, and the court will hear over half a day the submissions of the prosecution and the defence into aggravating factors, things which make the case worse, these things which we don't know yet about cause of death, we're not even certain about at the moment. There's a neuropathology report which is still due to come in to look into the cause of death, injuries she may have suffered. So then on the other side, the defence barrister will look at hear something about the psychiatric report. But as I say, there's no excuse or defence to defence of. Yes, Plymouth Live has newsletters from the court and our website, and also Devon Live, Cornwall Live, being refreshed at this moment with stories and pictures and video. To this moment, and we've got now a picture of his mugshot, but I don't believe there's going to be any police comment today, or the police crime commissioner. Plymouth Live, Devon Live, Cornwall Live, and there'll be plenty more on this over the coming hours.